I was 52 when I took the worst hit of my life, and it wasn't on a job site, or in a bar fight, or even on the road. It happened at my own brother-in-law's house. We were there for Trent's birthday bash, my wife, Michelle's brother. Big event. Catered barbecue, brand new patio, the works. I didn't want to go. Michelle kept saying, "It'll mean a lot to my parents." I should have said no, but like always, I swallowed it and went. I met Michelle when I was 39. She came into the shop with a flat tire and a diamond watch. Whole car smelled like lavender and old money. Her dad ran a big-time construction firm out in Stamford, Connecticut. Her nails were always done, teeth always bleached. But there was something about her laugh that felt real. That's what got me. I was a mechanic from Revere. Greasy hands, busted knuckles, chipped molars from biting bolts off when I didn't have the right wrench. No fancy college, no trust fund. But I treated people right. Thought that counted for something. Michelle's family didn't think so. Don was the first red flag. Tall, always dressed like he was headed to a job site or a funeral. Same damn expression either way. He talked in clipped sentences, called emotions drama, and looked at me like I was some roach crawling across his granite countertop. Lorraine was polite, fake smiling, kind of polite. She was always managing the energy, the conversation, the mood, especially when it came to Trent. Trent was the crown jewel, quarterback at Syracuse, business cards before he could drive, always with a new toy or vacation story. The first time I met him, he looked me up and down like he was checking for rust. He shook my hand, leaned in, and said, "She always deserved better, but I guess we all make mistakes." I laughed it off, that first time. But the digs kept coming. Every family event, he'd make some crack about blue-collar knees or shop guys or cheap beer. Michelle said he was just teasing, said I was taking it too hard. That's what it always was with them. I was too sensitive. I was the problem. Once, at a summer barbecue, Trent accidentally locked me in the garage during a thunderstorm. Lights off, door jammed, no phone, no airflow. He knew well I'm claustrophobic, had told him during a fishing trip years ago. Thought it was a safe story to share. Don thought it was hilarious. Lorraine said, "Boys will be boys." Michelle told me to let it go. So I did. Bit my tongue till it bled. I started skipping dinners, staying in the garage when they came over. I didn't push Michelle to cut ties, though. She wanted peace, and for years, I thought maybe peace was worth swallowing a little poison. But poison builds. It doesn't just sit in your gut. It spreads. The jokes turned to pranks. The pranks turned mean. At one holiday party, Trent gave me a gag gift, a knee brace with a note that said, "For when you finally break." Michelle laughed with the rest of them. I stopped laughing that night. Still, I kept showing up. Birthdays, Thanksgivings, Father's Day cookouts. I'd stand off to the side, drinking my beer and watching their world spin without me. Never fully in, never fully out. Then came that birthday, and this time, the joke wasn't something I could walk away from. That birthday invite came a week earlier, sent by Lorraine like she was mailing out royal wedding announcements. Trent's 35th, backyard bash, new deck, new grill, new boat. I didn't even open it. Michelle read it out loud in the kitchen, all excited. I was just trying to finish my sandwich in peace. "You gonna RSVP?" she asked. "No." She sighed, real dramatic. "Rick, it'll mean a lot to them. It won't mean a damn thing to me. You're being unfair." I dropped the crust on my plate. Am I? After the garage stunt? After the knee brace joke? She didn't say anything for a second, then real quiet. "I just don't want to fight." That's always how it went. I'd push back, she'd fold into silence, and I'd cave, like I always did. We showed up that Saturday around 2. Sun was blazing, the kind of heat that sticks to your clothes. Whole driveway packed with trucks, sports cars, and boats on trailers flexing for attention. I already wanted to leave. Michelle was all dressed up. Sundress, hair curled, earrings she only wore around her mom. I brought a 12-pack of Sam Adams and a $100 Home Depot card. Basic, neutral, nothing flashy. The second we stepped into the backyard, it hit me. I was a ghost in my own marriage. Everyone was already 3 beers in, yelling across the patio like it was some college reunion. Trent's football buddies were there. Same guys from the stories he wouldn't shut up about. All of them looked like they peaked at 18 and just coasted downhill. Trent was holding court by the grill, showing off a brand new Sea-Doo like he invented jet propulsion. Don stood beside him with a cigar and that smug look like he just crowned a king. When he saw me, he nodded once. No smile, no words. Same way you'd acknowledge a plumber you didn't really trust. Lorraine walked by with a tray of sliders and muttered, "Glad you could make it." That was it. Michelle kissed my cheek and walked off toward the kitchen without looking back. Left me standing in a crowd of people who didn't care if I lived or died. I grabbed a beer, posted up near the fence, and started counting the minutes till we could leave. 2 hours in, I was cooked. My head was pounding, my back already tight from standing. I found a shady corner by the deck stairs and sat down for a bit, but even that felt wrong, like I was tainting their fancy new patio with my cheap jeans. Then Michelle waved me over. She'd left her purse inside and asked if I could grab it. I said sure, just to get a break from the noise. I took the shortcut across the new deck. That thing was glossy, too glossy. You could see your reflection in the boards. I felt the slickness before I even saw it. It was like stepping on ice. My foot went out from under me. No warning, no chance to catch myself. My back slammed straight onto the edge of the stone steps. There was this sharp pop, like a bottle cracking in half. Then, stillness. My arms twitched, but my legs didn't move. Couldn't even wiggle a toe. A buzzing filled my ears. My vision got cloudy, like heat waves off asphalt. The sun above me blurred into a white smudge. I tried to speak, but all I got out was a grunt. Then came the burning, deep in my lower back, like someone stuck a hot pipe through my spine. And that's when I knew. Something was really wrong. The sky above me was a blinding white smear. My chest heaved, but the air felt thin, like breathing through a straw. My arms clawed at the boards, but my legs stayed dead. "I can't feel my legs," I rasped. My voice didn't even sound like mine. Trent's shadow moved over me. He had a beer in one hand, sunglasses pushed up on his head. He smirked down like I was the halftime show. "You always were dramatic, Rick." I tried to sit up. Nothing. My spine screamed like it was caught in a vice. "Rick!" Michelle's voice finally cut through. She came running, pale as a ghost. Knees hit the deck next to me. "Rick, are you okay?" "I think I broke something," I croaked. "I can't move my legs." Don strolled over from the grill, tongs in one hand, flipping burgers like a man who had no other setting. He didn't crouch, didn't blink. "Walk it off," he barked. "You're embarrassing yourself." My mouth fell open. "I can't." He cut me off with a shake of his head. "Get up. Don't make this into a thing." Lorraine appeared at his side, whispering harsh but quiet like she was stage managing a play. "We have guests. Don't make this into a scene." Michelle's hands hovered over me, but didn't touch. Her face said everything. Scared, but frozen. No movement, no decision. "Michelle," I gasped. "Call someone." "Nothing," I begged louder. "Help me! Somebody help me!" A few heads turned, but mostly people kept drinking. Someone laughed nervously. The music thumped on from a speaker. That's when a new voice cut through. "Don't move him!" A woman pushed past the crowd, tall, dark ponytail, wearing a tank top and medical ID badge on her shorts. She dropped to her knees, already pulling gloves from her pocket. "I'm Amanda," she said, quick but calm. "I'm an ER nurse." She put 2 fingers on my neck, checked my pulse, then looked straight at Michelle. "He's in shock. Call an ambulance now." Michelle blinked. "What? Now!" Amanda barked. "Do not move him." Michelle scrambled for her phone, fumbling like she'd forgotten how to dial. Amanda pressed her palm gently to my chest, keeping me flat. "You're gonna be okay, but don't move. Just breathe." I stared up at her. She was the first person in that yard who didn't look at me like a nuisance. Then she reached down and touched the boards beside me. Her fingers came up slick. "There's oil on this deck," she said, her tone shifting from medical to furious. Trent's smirk cracked. He stepped back a little, beer sloshing in his hand. "It was just a prank," he muttered. "I thought he'd just slip and fall into the pool." Amanda's eyes burned holes through him. "You could have paralyzed him. He's showing spinal trauma right now. This isn't a joke." The backyard went silent except for the sizzle of Don's grill. Even the music seemed to fade. Don's tongs dropped onto the plate with a clatter. For the first time since I'd met him, his face changed. Not guilt, exactly, but recognition. Like the world had just shifted under him. I wanted to scream, to curse, to launch myself at Trent. But all I could do was stare at the sky and feel my heart hammering against Amanda's palm. She snapped her fingers at one of Trent's buddies. "Get some towels, shade him. We're keeping him cool until EMS arrives." Nobody moved at first. Then a couple of guys finally bolted for the house. Michelle crouched beside me, still clutching her phone. "Rick! Just call!" I hissed. "Now!" She pressed the phone to her ear, shaking. Amanda's voice cut through again, sharp as a scalpel. "Nobody touches him. Nobody moves him. This is serious." The smell of burgers drifted past as Don backed away from the grill, his hands slick with something that wasn't just grease anymore. But by then, it was too late. A siren cut through the backyard noise, low at first, then louder until it drowned out everything. Amanda stayed kneeling beside me, one hand on my shoulder, steady like a post in a storm. "It's okay," she said under her breath. "They're here." 2 EMTs rushed in, gear clattering. One was a woman with cropped hair and steady eyes. Her name tag said Sarah. The other was a tall guy hauling a jump bag. Sarah knelt by my head. "Sir, can you hear me?" "Yeah," I managed. My throat felt like sandpaper. "Where's the pain?" she asked. "Back," I gasped. "Can't feel my legs." Amanda spoke up, quick and sharp. "There's oil on the boards. He hit concrete. Said he can't move his legs." Sarah's eyes flicked to the deck. She swiped her glove across the boards, rubbed her fingers together. Her jaw tightened. "Mike," she said without looking back. "Grab photos. Document this. Now." Mike dropped his bag, pulled out his phone, and started snapping. Sarah turned to Trent. "You put this here?" she asked, voice flat as a hammer. Trent shifted, beer still in his hand. "It was just supposed to be a laugh," he muttered. "He wasn't supposed to—" Sarah cut him off. "Stop talking." Her voice went ice cold. "You could have killed him." Michelle crouched by me, reaching for my hand. "Rick," I yanked it back. "Not now." My trust was gone, just like that. Sarah checked my pupils with a small light. "Stay with me, okay? You're pale, weak pulse, could be internal bleeding." Amanda nodded, still pressing gently on my shoulder. "He's fading. We need to move." They rolled me onto a backboard with practiced hands strapping me down. Pain shot through me like someone dragging barbed wire across my spine. I clenched my teeth so hard my jaw ached. As they lifted, Don stepped forward, hands up like he was the victim. "This is a misunderstanding," he barked. "We can handle this privately." Sarah didn't even blink. "Sir, you're interfering with emergency care. Step aside." He froze, cigar still in his fingers, and for the first time that day he actually looked small. They started wheeling me toward the ambulance. The crowd parted, quiet now. All the drunk laughter drained out of the yard. I caught a glimpse of Lorraine, one hand pressed to her mouth like she'd just seen a car crash on TV instead of 10 feet from her grill. Amanda jogged alongside the stretcher. "Stay calm, Rick. Breathe slow." The boards of the deck creaked under the wheels. I stared up at the sky again. Same blinding white, but this time there was blue light flashing across it. A police cruiser pulled into the driveway, lights spinning, then another right behind it. For the first time in years, I felt like somebody besides me saw what was happening. Sarah climbed into the ambulance with me. "Mike, keep shooting. We'll need every angle," she called over her shoulder. I caught one last look at Trent. He was standing by the grill now, shoulders hunched, sunglasses hiding his eyes. He opened his mouth like he might say something, then shut it. Michelle stood a few feet away, still holding her phone like it was a weapon she didn't know how to use. She looked at me, her face tight, but didn't move closer. The doors slammed shut, cutting off the backyard. The siren kicked back on, vibrating through the metal frame under me. Amanda leaned in through the open back door. "You're in good hands now," she said. "Hang on." Sarah started an IV as the engine roared. "We're stabilizing you, Rick. Stay awake for me." "I'm awake," I muttered, though my lips felt numb. Through the small back window, I saw Don still arguing with a cop, pointing at the deck, at Amanda, at me. The officer held up a hand, writing something on a pad. And as we pulled away, the last thing I saw was Trent dropping his beer into the grass, head bowed. For the first time all day, my chest loosened. Not from relief, from being seen. Someone finally believed me. I came to in a hospital bed, Cold as hell, lights too bright, wires taped to my chest, tubes running into both arms. My back felt like it had been welded in place, and my legs, numb, just dead weight. A nurse leaned over me. Name tag said, Carlos. He looked tired, but solid. Morning, Rick. You're in Mass General. You had spinal trauma. You're stable now. I tried to sit up. Couldn't. My chest tightened with panic. Easy, he said. Doctor will explain. Not long after, a tall man in a white coat came in. Sharp features, Indian accent, eyes that didn't flinch. Dr. Singh. He pulled up a stool, opened a chart. You suffered an L1 compression fracture, likely from direct impact with the stone step. We see signs of spinal cord compression and partial nerve disruption. I stared at him, throat dry. Will I walk again? He didn't dance around it. Hard to say. Right now, you're classified as incomplete paraplegia. That means there's still some nerve function below the injury, but it's weak, inconsistent. Recovery is possible, but not guaranteed. My chest sank. 30 years fixing engines, hauling equipment, climbing ladders, standing tall. Gone in 1 second. I looked at the ceiling tiles and tried not to scream. He handed me a small button. Pain control. Press it when it gets bad. Don't wait. Carlos adjusted something on the monitor, then left quietly. Singh patted my leg, probably out of habit, and left too. Later that day, 2 cops came in. 1 male, 1 female. Not in uniform, but badges clipped to their belts. Serious faces. The woman spoke first. We're detectives with Suffolk County. We've got a few questions, if you're able. Yeah, I muttered. Let's do it. They pulled up chairs. The guy flipped open a notepad. Tell us what happened, in your own words. I laid it out. The deck, the fall, the oil, the laughing, every detail. So no one called for help until the nurse stepped in, she asked. Correct. And your brother-in-law, Trent, he admitted to putting the oil down. He said it was a joke, but yeah, he admitted it, in front of at least a dozen people. The male detective nodded slowly. We've already spoken to witnesses. Multiple people heard him say, watch this, Rick's about to take a dive. That was before the fall. He flipped the notepad shut. We arrested him last night. Reckless endangerment causing serious bodily injury. What about Don and Lorraine? I asked. They're under investigation. Failure to render aid. Possibly obstruction if we find out they tried to cover it up. I didn't say anything. Just let that settle in my chest like a weight. An hour later, a woman in a charcoal suit showed up. She introduced herself as the assistant district attorney. Last name, Kessler. She didn't sit, just stood near the foot of the bed. Mr. Travers, I've reviewed the preliminary reports. You have grounds for a civil suit against your brother-in-law, your in-laws, and their homeowner's insurance policy. I've never sued anybody in my life, I said. She nodded. Understood. But this isn't about revenge. This is survival. Your care, hospital stay, rehab, physical therapy, possible in-home assistance could cost several $100,000, maybe more. I looked down at my legs. They were covered in hospital blankets, still, pale, worthless. What would that even look like? You'd need an attorney. We'd assist with the criminal case, but civil is separate. You'd be suing for damages, and frankly, you should. She gave me a business card. Even if you don't want to do it now, keep this. Then she looked at me, really looked at me. People like that. They assume they can hurt people like you and get away with it. You need to show them they can't. She walked out without waiting for a response. I laid there for a while, room buzzing with machines, pain crawling up my spine in little stabs. I hit the button Carlos gave me and felt the rush of relief flow in. I wasn't thinking about payback. I wasn't thinking about what Trent deserved or what Don never gave a damn about. I was thinking about how I was going to survive this and what kind of man I'd have to become to make sure I did. I called the number on the DA's card the day after they took out my catheter. Didn't wait for Michelle's opinion. Didn't ask anyone's permission. I was done being quiet. They referred me to a guy named Kent Delaney, injury lawyer out of Woburn. Showed up in a cheap suit, tie crooked, didn't smile once. But the second he opened his folder, I knew he was the real deal. We'll start with their homeowner's policy, he said, flipping pages. Then look into Don's business assets, maybe Lorraine's accounts. You can't work. You can barely walk. They owe you. He wasn't wrong. The case moved faster than I expected. By the time I got out of inpatient rehab, the charges were already filed. The DA was aggressive, said Trent's actions showed clear malicious intent. The evidence was solid: witnesses, photos, Amanda's statement. Trent pled guilty. No trial, no grand speech, just a short court hearing where he stood there like a wet towel. Judge gave him 4 years. He'd served 2, maybe less with good behavior. Don and Lorraine got off lighter: 2 years probation and court-ordered community service. No jail. But they did have to sell their house to cover part of the civil settlement. I ended up with $1.7 million. Didn't feel like a win, didn't change what my body lost, but it gave me breathing room, a fighting chance. Michelle didn't stay long after the check cleared. She came home from a session with some therapist and stood in the doorway like she was delivering a memo. "I can't do this anymore, Rick. The pressure, the guilt, everything's changed." I just looked at her. "You think I don't know that? I need space." I nodded. "Then take it." She filed for separation the next week. I didn't fight it. We hadn't spoken the same language in months, maybe years. I moved into a ground-level condo near Lynn. 1 bedroom, no stairs, no visitors. Bought a used van with hand controls. Started outpatient rehab 3 times a week. The techs were nice, the exercises brutal. They gave me a brace and a pair of canes, said I might get partial function back with time. Maybe. I focused on brushing my own teeth, getting into bed without help, cooking eggs without burning myself. The little victories were all I had. But the betrayal, that sat deeper than the pain. Trent took my legs. Don and Lorraine stood by and watched. And Michelle, she just left. Quiet, like she always did. I didn't want pity. I wanted honesty. And I didn't get much of that from anyone in that family. 2 years out, I wasn't the same man. But I was mine again. I got a part-time gig teaching at a vocational school over in Peabody, trades and tool basics for guys fresh out of high school, some court-ordered, some just lost. I taught from a seated workbench with custom rigging. Took some pride in showing them I could still build things with busted legs and shaky hands. Couple of them were dealing with injuries too: car wrecks, bad falls, worse luck. I told them, the world doesn't stop. You just adjust how you move through it. Not a pep talk, just facts. That's where I met Lisa. She was one of the clinic nurses they brought in for a safety seminar. Early 40s, sharp voice, warm eyes. Asked if I needed help breaking down my setup afterward. I told her no, but she helped anyway. She didn't flinch at the cane. Didn't ask about the injury right away. Just said, "You look like someone who used to carry too much on his own." We got coffee, then more coffee, then dinner once, then a walk, well, a limp, down the boardwalk in Salem. We were both cautious, still are, but it's real, quiet, no pretending. She knows my whole story, never once called it tragic. Michelle never reached out after the separation. Sent the final papers by mail with no note. I signed and sent them back same day. Haven't heard from her since. That chapter's closed. Don and Lorraine moved to Arizona last fall. I found out through someone at rehab who knew a cousin of theirs. Word is, they tell people I had a tragic fall during a family gathering. Real vague, real polished, no mention of oil, no Trent, no charges. Doesn't matter. I used to grind my teeth thinking about how they'd rewrite everything to save face. Now I let them. They can pretend. I don't need their version anymore. What matters is I got back up. Not in the Hollywood sense. Not some miracle comeback. I mean, I rebuilt. I cook my own meals, drive myself to therapy, pay my bills, sleep through the night most days. That's not nothing. I even walk now, kind of, with braces on both legs and a cane that clicks like a metronome across tile floors. But I'm upright, I'm moving, and for the first time in years, I don't feel like I have to prove a damn thing to anyone. Some mornings, I still wake up angry. My body reminds me real fast I'm not the man I used to be. But then I sit at that workbench, hand a kid a socket wrench, and say, let's try that again. And I remember I've still got use. People stepped over my pain for years, laughed at it, ignored it, blamed me for it, not anymore. I tell Lisa, it doesn't get easier, you just get louder about what you need. She always smiles when I say that, says I'm finally learning to speak for myself. She's not wrong. 4 months ago, I got a letter in the mail with no return address, handwritten, sloppy. I opened it, read the first line, and knew it was from Trent. Said he was out, said he was sorry, said a lot of things actually. How prison changed him, how he never meant for things to go the way they did. Said he hoped I could find peace and maybe one day forgive him. I read it once. No response, no calls. I burned the damn thing in the kitchen sink with a long match and a cold face. You don't pour oil on a man's path and call it a prank. That wasn't a fall. That was years of quiet disrespect exploding into a single, life-altering second. What happened to me started long before that deck. It started the first time Don looked at me like I wasn't worth his handshake. When Lorraine smiled through me. When Michelle laughed at their jokes instead of standing beside me. I've accepted that. Doesn't mean I've forgiven it. Pain is still part of my everyday. Mornings are stiff, nights are worse. Stairs are hell. Cold weather makes my spine feel like it's rusting from the inside out. But I don't let that stop me. I show up. Every Tuesday I roll into a support group for spinal injury survivors. Small circle, folding chairs, fluorescent lights that hum too loud. But it's real. We talk pain, pills, progress, rage. Some guys cry, some don't. I listen. I speak when I need to. There's this one kid, Devin, 19, motorcycle crash, angry at the world. I told him, if someone tells you your pain's fake, walk away or roll away. Just don't stay. He looked at me like I'd handed him a map. That's the good stuff. That's why I go. This whole story, this whole mess, it's never been about justice or revenge. It's been about taking back the right to feel what I feel, speak what I know, and stop acting like I'm crazy for being hurt. You don't get to decide how much pain someone's allowed to carry.